adding some color to your videos can completely shift the mood of your video. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to put filters on our videos. So we've learned all about these windows, and now it's time to go to the effects window. Over here, you can find many things such as filters, overlays, utilities, and LUTs. Now this should be familiar to you because we looked at LUTs in the color correction lesson. The only difference is that here you have a lot more options. We have the classics like 007 series, Batman, and all that. But if you go to others like cinematic, you have new items and you have plenty more to choose from. You can download them, double click to see a preview. We have things like color correction. This is where your custom LUTs will go, the ones that we make in the color correction tab like we saw in a previous lesson. We even have things like anime. Let's download one, double click, and we get really vibrant colors. Then we have sci-fi colors for gaming and neon. Now let's take a look at the filters tab. Open it up and we have a lot of options for our videos. Now filters are different from color correction because you're not correcting anything. You're adding a combination of colors on top of your video. And other times it could also be something that's not related to colors like chromatic aberration or blur. Things like fisheye and maybe distort. And we just have a lot of options to choose from. Let's take a look at them one by one. The first one we have is shake. This one just shakes your videos, as you can see. And it could be great for some epic montage that you may have. We have different directions like sideways, up and down. Now this is where you get those color overlays. Whatever you drag onto your video, you can change the properties. Let me just get a video from the stock media tab. And now I'm going to head over to effects, come to Fox Film, where I can just add any of these on top of my video. So this is a new layer for this effect. You can also add it directly on your video, like so. But this way you're not getting it in a separate video layer. If you want to change it up, you would have to double click and head over to Video Effects to alter the filter. The only properties for this particular filter is changing the opacity, which as we learned is how much of that element is there. If it's 100, it's fully there, but if we reduce this, it will be less. So we have 27% of this element. If you want to go back to the default setting, you can either hit this icon or hit reset, and you'll be directed back to what Filmora kept for you. You can also uncheck this to see it without the effect, or turn off video effects completely. But if you have multiple effects on one video, you're going to turn all of them off. Let's go ahead and hit this X icon because I don't want this filter anymore. Let's hit OK. And take a look at some other ones. We have this one, which is called Split Style. As you can see, it's pretty cool. I'm going to drag it on top of my video. The video still plays, but you have this split screen effect. If you double click on this, you have some options. Basically, whatever's on the left is after these modifications, and whatever's on the right is the original video. So basically, I get to mess around with the reds in this video. If I move it to this side, I'm going to get something like this. Go all the way back, and we're removing all the reds. So you can just drag the slider and see how you want to edit this split screen. We can also mess around with the greens. And these are the channels, by the way, not necessarily the greens in the video. You can also work around with these. And of course, the blue channel. You can mess around. And finally, we have opacity, which we are pretty familiar with. So unless it's something special like split style, you're not going to get much options for filters. Let's try this one. And you can see I only have one slider. But if it's something special like shake, and double click, and I have a lot of options. We have, for this example, the frequency of the movement. Let's play this back. And you can see this is pretty intense. The higher I go with frequency, the more shake I'm giving my video. Let's play this back. If I lower this, I'm going to make the shake minimal. You can see how it's not as intense, but you can also work with the positions down here to adjust the intensity. How much do you want it to move on the X-axis, position X? How much on the Y-axis and how much on the Z-axis? You can just work around with these. Take a look at that, get rid of it. So Fox Film, Nightlife, and these ones are just filters that you only have the option to adjust the opacity slider. But when it comes to shake, background blur, distortion, you get more options. So even if you go on any of these, common, let's add one on top, and I'm just getting one slider. But if I go in background blur, I have a lot more options. You can see. Now the background blur feature is not meant for horizontal video like this one. So I'm going to use a vertical video for this example. Let's get rid of these. Add my vertical video. Make sure you keep it landscape. So keep project settings. And right now, if I were to post this, I'm getting these black bars on either side, and that's just not interesting. So I can use the background blur to blur out the edges. Let's place it on top. And basically with this element, Filmora is going to take your video, scale it in, and then feather it out and use it as your background so you don't get those black bars instead. Let's double click on this effect. And if I remove background feather, you can see that it's indeed my video, just really large. There we go. It's still playing in real time with the middle video. And we can just adjust the scale level by working with source width. So if it's less, it's like that. If it's more, it's like that. You can choose the background color, which is the color that goes on top of this video. Right now it's white, but I can make it green, red, or any other color that I like. And let's close this. Once I chose my color, I can change the luminance, how bright I want this video to be. This is bright, this is dark. And the feathering is how blurred this part of the video is. So you can just drag this until you get something like this. And of course, opacity is the visibility of the whole thing. Let's hit reset. And if I want this to be on my entire video, I need to make sure that it starts at the same time as my video, because over here, it's still the black bars. It only starts blurring once it reaches here, and it finishes right here. So I'll get the black bars again. So I need to make sure this is starting with my video. Let's get rid of the rest. Starting with my video and ends with my video instead. So I don't get even a second of black bars. Now let's try distortion, this tab. Let's go to chromatic aberration, add it on top of my video, and we will get this effect. Pretty cool effect. If I double click, I have options. We have fade, which is how much the video fades. The colors fade actually. If you notice, when we play this back, there are these colors just coming onto the screen. Let's choose a frame where we're seeing the colors. If I remove from the fade, you can see how they're going back into the video. So this is when they're detached. This is when they're a part of it. And then of course we have opacity, which is the visibility of this effect. So if I keep my fade around 0.9 or something, I will get something more minimal compared to what we had before. When you add colors to a video, you can also change the mood of that video. You can make the video appear sad or make it look happy just by adding certain colors to your videos. Let's head over to filters again. I will go to Instagram like, where we can find a lot of colors. If I add a warm filter on this, I'm making this